space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim. With me, of course, are Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And Dr. Squee.
Ooh, day late for Halloween, Dragon! I got a bat.
We are a day late for Halloween, but it is the day just to cross
After
over.
Halloween.
It's the day, it's All Saints Day. Never ever have ever had so low.
And kind of how we approach Halloween, we do bring a long lost character back from the dead, basically.
We do. It's also the day, if you're watching in the UK, that the whole of the Hooniverse dropped on BBC iPlayer, except for the episodes that no longer exist and except for the episodes that for legal reasons are not allowed to be on there. But apart from that, it's more than has ever been on before.
I was going to say, Jesus, the guys who are bitching online, I'm sorry, but look, the amount of free Doctor Who we have online now. Oh no, but we haven't got an Anthony Child. Oh come on, we all own it on DVD or Blu-ray.
Like, what is it? 800 and odd episodes that just dropped at once.
Yeah. It's. I think we can let them go that they couldn't wrangle the rights from certain people. It wasn't even that they didn't want to; just the people who own the rights.
People wouldn't sell them the rights to do it.
And it's like children of directors and writers who do get screwed over. I sort of feel for their case, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but by screwing over the fans, are you really helping the situation? The BBC aren't going to open up their coffers for this.
They're not going to pay you lots of money for
for
something that they made in 1963
in the case of An Unearthly Child, and like, you know, they've already paid you for the VHS, the DVD, and the Blu-ray rights, so you know,
Blu-ray.
You might as well just let them stay. It's a shame the first episode's not on there, though. I do have to say, I do think that's a shame.
It is a shame, but it's not one of the BBC's making, and people bitching about it. It's like, again, you've just been given this huge great gift.
And the thing is, most people are not going to watch them. Most people are going to go, "Oh, it's good. Doctor Who's on there." Are you going to watch the Willie Mantle ones? Absolutely not. But
some of them are really quite good. I think I
think they're good.
I think when I first got my first laptop, I downloaded them all. And Patrick Thornton.
And Troughton. Sorry. That was a geek reflex. I didn't mean to correct you. It's like Thornton, Troughton. Sorry, it was like Tourette's of the geek. But yeah, anyway. No offense to anyone with the Tourette's. But yeah, so I mean, and it should be a credit to you guys and how much I take this podcast seriously. That as opposed to watching Tales from the TARDIS during my lunch hour after work, I was straight on the Star Trek because I like to try and watch it the same day we're going to talk about it because it's just fresh in my mind then.
To be fair, I watched one of the Tales from the TARDIS, and it is just like a little couple of minutes at the start, couple of minutes at the end to frame the story, which is what we expected. But already Russell T Davies has said that they are canonical. And if so, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but some of the concepts introduced in them, if they are to become canon, could hint at some really interesting directions they could go, but we will say no more.
Well, I was going to say, I'll just very briefly add that, it's because the next series they're going to call series 1.
Season 1.
Season 1. I was going to say I couldn't remember the nomenclature of series or season, but it's kind of interesting because I think there's going to be some major shit that gets fucked up in the anniversary.
Yeah, I think so. And so Doctor Who now, because it used to be the classic series was seasons. The new series since it came back has been series, but now we're going back to seasons again.
Well, technically, I think the original seasons were called series when they came out. I think they changed the season to separate it from the series and the new one because back then it was actually more like the American seasons because they were go all year long. The reason why
Pretty
the
much.
Americans were called seasons is because it would last a season. Our TV shows never did, apart from Doctor Who and soap opera. It's obviously year long.
Yeah.
So yeah, and in fact, Doctor Who when it first started was pretty much year long. And just as a quick plug, just while we're talking about it, I will be covering the 3 special Doctor Who's, doing live streams. Probably the day after for the first 2, and then straight after for the 3rd one, because obviously we want to get straight on it. Jim's already agreed to join me, and I was going to ask Elliot later if you fancy joining us to talk about one of them.
I would love to join in on them.
Excellent. So it's going to be Retrek does Gallifrey stands. We're going to bring back my old brand of a podcast.
There we go. So we will now talk about Star Trek, but I felt, today of all days, we needed to mention that it's a big Doctor Who day.
Let's talk about Doctor Who's younger sibling in sci-fi.
Yeah, which did at one stage assimilate Doctor Who in that story. So
Yeah, there's been many crossovers, mainly in comics, and I bet there's a load of fanfic out there. But that's a good question. Which Star Trek crew
Amy
member?
Pond and Deanna Troi. Oh, sorry, you didn't mean about the /fic. Sorry, you were saying.
Which Star Trek crew member would be the best Doctor Who companion?
Oh, companion.
I mean, Troi does spring to mind. Like, I know I've just mentioned her, but she's very empathetic. Mm-hmm. She's kind of like, I think
7 of 9. I think
7 9 would be a great one.
Because she's trying to work out the TARDIS, and she'd be questioning him all the time. And
great at running,
which
is a staple of Doctor Who.
I think Tilly would be good.
Yes,
she's got that sort of energy and enthusiasm.
Body Langford energy.
Yeah. Which isn't always a desired trait in a Doctor Who companion, but never mind. Okay, so what we're actually here to talk about is the latest episode of Star Trek Lower Decks called The Inner Fight, which isn't a reference to the Inner Light. Well, I mean, it is, but the episode itself is not.
I honestly thought when I saw the title, I thought, oh, here we go.
I went Inner Light. Then I went the original series episode, which got that alien from the. It's from nowhere where no man's gone before, isn't it? For the first one with Kirk, I believe.
No, it's
Carbonite Maneuver.
Oh, Carbonite, of course. Sorry, Carbonite Maneuver, because it's the baby which is Ron Howard. Anyway, yeah. So I was like, it's going to be definitely that episode. Then I'm like, no fucking way! Like they've found the perfect way of the callback no one was asking for, no one really wanted, but everyone's going to be excited as hell once they did it.
Yeah, I know we spent weeks kicking the idea about who's it going to be. We mentioned the Iconians just in case. But I defy anyone to have got this. Yeah, I defy anyone to have actually got the answer to this one, because it is so out of left field, but so Lower Decks in its.
James, you see the little pile behind you there? Lift up that bit of clothing just behind you on the right, and take out the bit of paper. Just above you. Is that a hat? What's that up there?
Yeah.
It's just underneath.
What, this?
Yeah, just underneath that. Do you see the bit of paper?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just read out what it says on there.
Oh, it says, I Squee do declare that it will be Nick Lacano.
Just saying.
And it's dated 2 weeks ago.
Do you know how many fucking hundreds of bits of paper I had to hide around that room?
Yeah.
It fucking took me, and I had to get to Leeds, I had to hide them.
I've been throwing them out all week. That one that says Iconians.
Yeah, that was actually all the other bits of paper said Iconians. I'm like, oh fuck it, let's say Nick Lacano.
Do we think he's in cahoots with somebody else? How he's got the design of what it does? This shit.
Maybe. Well, let's talk through the episode, and then we'll.
Just quickly, but do you think the writers of Lacano were like just punching the air and going, "Finally, I'm royalty rights"?
Yeah. Finally, I've got my royalties. That did occur to me. I feel like it's Lower Decks' way of going, you know what? They did you dirty all them years ago. Finally, have a little bit of cash for it. Like, okay, it's not a syndicated show that ran for 7 years that you're getting money from. It's a 1 episode, but
it'll be 2 episodes.
It will be at least 2 episodes.
Do you like? I mean, just for anyone who doesn't know, of course, the reason why Locarno wasn't the character in Voyager, played by Robert Duncan McNeil, instead it was Paris, was so they didn't have to pay royalties. But it's like, I mean, the story, like the whole heft of that story, which isn't really the best story, but if it was like the motivation for him joining the Marquis, for everything else that happened afterwards, how much richer is that story? Yeah, but it makes the story more richer as well, because you know he is all going in.
You've already done character development.
Yeah, and
I
don't
mean,
know how much
Tom Paris Tom Paris was meant to be Nick Locarno, and
to be
because
fair,
they wouldn't pay the money, they got the same actor and made almost a carbon copy. I think Tom's got less rough edges.
They didn't put all the backstory in, but it's pretty much the same character. They didn't rewrite it.
Also, you've got the fact that the like his motivation is like, well, my dad's an admiral. Well, I don't want to be in his shadow. Like, as opposed to, you know what, I accidentally killed the dude. Like, I mean, that's quite a motivating story. Like, accidentally. So it's not like he's morally corrupt, but like that's going to change a guy. That makes so much better. More pathos.
It does.
I
it would have been
killed somebody under my command and then lied about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even more so. Yeah, you're right.
It would have been so interesting, and the character arc is there as well. Of if Locarno had have been the character in Voyager, to get him to a place. I think what they would have had to have done is taken him down the command path and got him to the stage where Janeway's comfortable with him leading missions and things like that, and then that's his arc, isn't it? Being in command of people again. But yeah. Anyway, it's another one of the dropped stitches of Voyager, unfortunately.
I mean, it's one of those things as well, whereby, you know, at the time, admittedly, the royalty payments of the time, as I understand it, were a nice chunk of change to the writer. Like, they got a periodic decent payment. Yeah. But for the money they were making on TV at the time, it was a drop in the ocean. It wasn't really anything to the writers. It was just like, it really seemed penny pinch. Oh, sorry, to the producers. It was just really penny pinching.
It's just spiteful, isn't it? It's just going, we don't want to pay someone.
Yeah. But the reality is that they've got to pay someone else anyway for the character. Somebody else has written it, so.
Well,
but if you create it for these series, you pay less payment. If it's a character in one episode you then reuse, that's when the more meaty payment comes in. Yeah. Because, a series regular, you get a one-off payment basically for creating it, and they're allowed to because they're designed to reuse. The other one isn't.
Tom Paris was created by Michael Piller, Rick Berman, and Jerry Taylor, who are executive producers of Voyager and credited as creators, and blah blah. So they will get their royalties anyway.
But they don't get extra royalties per character that they get because they created the show. Yeah.
No, exactly. That's it. They get royalties for every episode of the show because they created it. But they didn't want the person who wrote the first duty to get, like you say, what would have effectively been a pittance. But anyway, and as you've gathered, the other episode we're covering is the first duty because there was no other choice. We probably could. We pointed out there could have been other choices, but
it was just so glaringly obvious, and it's one that we haven't done.
Absolutely, and it's a good one to do. So let's have a look at the inner fight first.
Can I just say something that I was really impressed with this week?
Yes.
I actually watched The First Duty on Paramount Plus. The Next Generation worked on Paramount Plus. I did watch them there. I could choose episodes.
I mean, it was on my iPad at lunchtime. For some reason, it works on my iPad, not on the.
Yeah, but last time we did a Next Gen episode, I had to watch it on Netflix because it would not load on Paramount Plus.
Yep.
So I was really impressed.
You did one thing right, Paramount Plus.
So there we go.
I like the fact we're out of time. That's even better for Paramount Plus. They don't deserve us to be in unison.
No, they don't. Because they're not.
It's just we've got no rhythm.
No, we got synced up by Paramount Plus. Jim's got it.
So yeah, the inner fight then. We've sort of got this thing about Mariner now, and I feel that I don't feel quite enough groundwork's been done this season. It feels like in the original series. I don't know why I keep going back to this episode with Scotty, the Jack the Ripper one, but that episode starts and they go, "Oh, by the way, Scotty hates women now." And it's just, right, so that's a character trait that we've introduced for this episode. And it kind of feels a little bit like that with Mariner. They've done a little bit of the groundwork to it, but all of a sudden she's got a death wish and she keeps running into these situations.
I think actually we've seen a steady progression of that throughout the season.
Yeah. I've got a third argument, but we'll hear yours first.
We saw her when they went to Ferengi now. She deliberately gets in fights. She's been doing quite a lot. And she's been rebellious about becoming a lieutenant all the way through.
Well, you see,
and we do get it explained this episode, which I think is really quite good.
My feeling was I didn't notice the fight angle, but now you mention it, there were antecedents to that. But to me, it's more the case for me that they've covered this so much, like so many different ways they've covered it. At the beginning of the episode, she doesn't like being a lieutenant, so she fights against it. Then someone gives a bit of advice, so then she goes back to going, no, I should really try. And then she's reset every episode. To me, it was just repetitive. I don't know why we had to see that. Like, it would have been better if they hadn't resolved it. They'd had they could have been more consistent, to Jim's point. I think they did show her getting into Barney's, but they didn't really show that she was being reckless on every mission. They should have hammered that in a bit more, or, had it here and there. But not have it resolved every episode, because they had it resolved, and then by the next episode, she was reset. Yeah,
it's like when you look at the Orion episode, when she keeps getting stabbed and all that, she's not bothered about it. In the same way that you should really be. There has been.
I guess we should have seen people getting a bit more worried as they went.
Maybe the arc has been more subtle than my brain can cope with at the moment. I don't know. I do have an alternative theory, though, and if this is the case, I think this is a really deep cut. What if Mariner is effectively doing a sting operation by making herself look like she's incredibly out of sorts, she's getting in all these fights so that she ingratiates herself to Locarno, because they know that she knows him from the academy, which, and this is where the deep cut comes in, would reflect Tom Paris's arc in season 2 of Voyager. And of course, Tom Paris is played by the same actor who plays Locarno.
I was trying to think where we'd seen it before. I love that. And it also makes more sense of the fact that the person who talked around every time. So you had a Ferengi who would then go and talk to other people. You got this guy in this episode. Like, maybe she's purposely having these breakthrough moments which aren't real, because that would actually be much more satisfying. Because so far I'm just going, why are we redoing this? Like, we've done this every episode of this series.
And it tie into how we see Captain Freeman actually play an ace card in this episode.
Yes.
How she plays,
and they're working together. And it shows them working together, which shows character progression, which is always good. I love it. If they're not doing this now, Jim, I'm going to be mad at them.
I quite like that.
Why did you not do what Jim said?
I just got that feeling that maybe, this is intentional, and that's why it feels maybe a little bit overplayed.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're having fun with the Robert Duncan McNeil of it all by doing a callback to one of Paris's storylines.
Yeah.
Oh, if they are, that is just beautiful. I don't even know if they thought that, if they are doing it, I don't know if they thought about the Tom Paris parallel. I hope so, because Lower Decks are very...
Oh, they will have done. These writers are, not to disparage ourselves, but these writers are much cleverer than we are. So
they are much cleverer than we are.
I honestly think we've probably got the best writing staff for knowing Star Trek canon and following it.
Oh, without a doubt.
And you know what?
Far.
I've said, and I still stick by this, like my comments from last week, that I do miss the fast-paced references, but to play the long game like this is another kettle of fish altogether. This is probably the longest con they've done us. Already, even with what they've just done with Locarno, that's the longest con they've done us. And then if you've got these extra layers, then just chef's kiss.
I do wonder, Did maybe something get cut out of last week's episode? Because we noted last week that there was nothing about the ongoing Nick Lucano threat, as we now know it to be. But this episode opens with them saying, oh, they're now targeting ex-Starfleet officers. And that just kind of comes out of nowhere. So it would have been maybe been nice to have had an ex-Starfleet officer getting abducted last week.
But do you think it's maybe because they're going to do the reveal? Like, they listed off some very specific people, all of which have been known to do guest spots in other kind of Star Trek, or reoccur their role.
Yes, we get Beverly.
What if they're all going to be in the next episode as his crew?
Ooh,
and maybe
cool.
Like Beverly would obviously have to be working undercover,
and so would Seven. But at this
like,
point,
could be
Seven
there
would be with
Sting.
the Fenris Rangers, so maybe.
Oh yeah, but it could be like they're part of the Sting, whereas the other two, Thomas Riker and was there another one?
And Nick Lucano is.
Nick Lucano. So they probably are in earnest. Whereas I'd love the end where. I'd love it at the end if all three of them did the reveal of like Mariner goes, well, I was undercover, and Crush go, no, I'm undercover. Seven's going, I'm undercover. What the and they haven't compared notes or anything.
Yeah,
because they'd be working on their own undercover, whereas Mariner would be the only one working undercover from.
And it was
so there's no reason they would have.
I tell you what, if they bring Thomas Riker back in the season,
I would love that.
With Lucano as well. It's the doppelganger
and Thomas Riker.
Well, that's it. It was a clever way of hiding the reveal inside a joke by having, when it comes up Thomas Riker, you think, Thomas Riker. And then it says Nick Lucano, and you go, oh, I see what they're doing there. They're making a joke about having...
And I've heard some people say, I'm not sure I subscribe to it, but some people have said 7 and 9 looks like Annika Hansen. I don't know, but just some people are suggesting it.
I can believe that.
Can I also, just as a random point before I forget, just because it was is it just me who noticed there seems to be a lot of references to other sci-fis in this? Because the thing above the planet looks like a Stargate. The whole
it does.
Right.
I've got a snake in my boots, which is a weird Toy Story reference because that's the only place I've heard that in within my lifetime. I've heard it seen old movies, but that's about it. And then you've got the whole of the city on the ground, especially Mud Spa, looks like Scum and Villainy. The whole city looks like something out of Star Wars. And you've even got this lizard-headed guy who is
the bounty hunter was very, very Star Wars.
The whole thing seemed. So I'm wondering if they were letting out their secret passions for the sci-fi.
Maybe even the way he spoke spoke in inverted commas sounded like Princess Leia when she's disguised as the bounty hunter.
I thought it sounded like a Breen.
It did as well, which a Breen also is Princess Leia when she's disguised as a bounty hunter. So maybe. And the concept of what we get, when they end up down on the planet, and it's basically everyone who we've seen get abducted so far.
Well, that's it. First we thought they'd all been destroyed, but now we're finding out that they've been beamed away.
Yeah, and they're all on this planet.
And obviously the Klingon lower decks ones are working with Lucano.
Well, the Klingons which are in space, not the one.
They're the lower decks crew from the Bird of Prey that have ditched the captain on the planet.
Right.
So that's why he keeps saying that's my ship.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
They're obviously working with Lucano, and they're guarding the planet and why the hell he's got them on that planet.
Also, this seems to be a callback to Klingon Stooges because you've got Star Trek 5 had Klingon Stooges. You've got Lurs and Bator in with working Sauron and Generations. There's a proud Star Trek tradition, especially in the films, of Klingon Stooges.
Talking about Generations with Klingon ships, you've got Transit to lower decks that did their own brand new footage of a Klingon Bird of Prey.
Yeah. They did.
Wait till it explodes next week. If they explode it next week and they animate the exact copy of how it explodes in Star Trek 6 and 7,
that'll be.
I will take off every hat I own to them, and I've got a collection.
And they had Star Trek 6 Blood as well.
Yeah, Pink Blood.
Yeah, if they do it, I'm gonna get all the hats I own, and throughout the next episode, I'm gonna be taking on and taking off hats to them.
In fact, this is the first time since Star Trek 6 that we've seen pink blood.
Well, that's the thing. What were the chances this week? I know I'd seen Lower Decks at this stage, but I was not thinking of this, I swear. I put together a little sci-fi quiz for us and some friends, and in there, one of the questions was like, what color was the blood in Star Trek 6? And I said in conversation afterwards, because that's the only time they've ever done. Then I was watching this back today, I go, I sit corrected. Like, even when I wrote it, I was wrong by a day, I think, because we did the quiz on the Friday.
Yeah, you wrote that on... Yeah, you did, yeah.
So what are the chances I was a day out from being correct because of Lower Decks?
Exactly. But, you know, these things happen. I do think sometimes they're spying on us.
I think so.
So, yeah, the concept of the planet where they've got all these disparate crews... That's like a classic sci-fi trope where you basically have a battle planet where you've got various different people. I mean, we've seen Predators is
well, this was very much
bringing
Spectre
to mind
of the Gun.
at the minute, but
not Spectre of the Gun.
I know which one you mean.
That's
the Savage Curtain.
That's it, Savage Curtain.
Oh, that was great. There's Kurlis the Unforgettable and Genghis Khan. And then on the good guy side, Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, I mean, it just reminds me of the. I think it's probably a little bit of a nod to this. Was the Waxwork episode?
Waxworld in Red Dwarf.
In Red Dwarf, where they had like all the good guys and the bad guys throughout history. It seemed like a bit of a Star Trek nod there.
Oh, it was.
Yeah. Red Dwarf did very well with borrowing certain ideas from Star Trek.
They always did references in that. They would never signpost them. Like, it was always just there. It's like they do some Blade Runner ones throughout, especially in one of the specials.
Oh, yeah. Arguably, they overplayed that Blade Runner joke.
They definitely overplayed it.
A little bit
Back
too
to
long.
Earth, I think it was.
It was Back to Earth, yeah. Anyway, then, so yeah, we're down on the planet, and this is where we get Mariner has this fight with the Klingon, and they have to stop because it starts raining, and there's not enough room.
It starts
raining glass.
Well, I don't know if you watch. Like, there's a lot of documentaries out there now on YouTube about sort of planets because they're discovering exoplanets, and they're looking at how close they are to the suns and all that.
Yeah.
And they're making all these theories, and there are theories that there's planets that'll have sharp metal as rain and diamond and all that. So this actually fits into sort of science theories on what you could get.
Yeah, because they were saying it's like if we just because the one theory is of mining asteroids to help replenish supplies for the Earth, but they were saying it's like all we'd have to do is get one asteroid which is maggoty with gold, mine that, and suddenly gold is not a rare property to us anymore. It's just because it happens to be in short supply here.
But
we could conceivably have an asteroid we mine and just it becomes dust to us.
So they have this chat, and this is where we get this backstory for Mariner. And this was when I first started thinking we're going to do the first duty, because she references Sito, and I was like, oh, that's quite a nice deep cut that she knew Sito, and it references Sito dying on the Enterprise, which is from the original Lower Decks episode.
Yeah, which we have
covered. And I thought that was a nice callback. Sorry?
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, and in the second episode, I believe they've done a little work on her eyebrows. I'm going to get onto the wig work that they do in that episode, because there is some bonkers shit in there with with a Vulcan and with her eyebrows. It's just nuts.
Yeah. At that point, I was thinking, right, this is a nice deep cut to a character that, has been in Star Trek twice, so you have to kind of know your stuff to remember Sito. But I still didn't think we were going to end up with Nick Lucano, but I thought that's a nice reference. And you get this thing where Mariner comes to a realization about not wanting to be a lieutenant and everything, and the stuff they drop in about, it's because I wanted to live up to Ceto, and then the Klingon says, oh, well, she wouldn't be happy. And so all that works as a character beat in and of itself.
And it all works while she's acting up as well.
It does, yeah. But it's hiding.
Yeah.
And
it's hiding what they're going to do.
I do like your theory, though.
I mean, this is what, but I mean, that theory still works as well. It's brilliant. I mean, it's, what I like about Lower Decks and why I think they've sort of found their feet a little bit as they've gone on, because some of the earlier episodes, they just played it for the last. So they had some out sex episodes, which like, it's fine. Like, they're naked now, and like, all these episodes in traditional Trek, which covered sex and stuff, but they forgot to put in the kind of like the Star Trek of it all, the morals of it all, whatever else. Whereas this, they spare a moment to have like, everyone come together, all these different races based on Mariner just, finding the Star Trek within her, the Starfleet within her, and banding people together. I feel like you've still got to have that even in the wackiest, silliest of episodes.
Yeah.
And there were some great ones in series 1 of Lower Decks, but there was some which just, it lost me. And I was like, is it the swearing? Is it the overt sexiness of it? Like, or sex of it? Not sexiness. But, apart from obviously Noel Wells as Tendi, sexy as hell. Still going to die on that hill. But apart from that, not sexy. But it was the lack of kind of Star Trek morals, which I think they've done better.
But I think that's sort of like, you can also go with Next Generation, tried to do all the morals in season 1 and forgot about decent story and making it fun. So you get that sort of like balance out. And it's that sort of... Okay.
No, Star Trek's at its best in season 1. You're right.
And it does actually...
They were finding the feet still.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think maybe Strange New Worlds first season has a decent argument for being... just as good as season 2, and actually Prodigy.
I think Strange New Worlds has the argument to be the strongest first season of any Star Trek,
and I would put Prodigy up there.
Prodigy up there, and the original series.
Series, yeah,
because they had 30 episodes per season, so give them a bit of a break.
So I think Mariner makes a really good speech where she talks about like what Starfleet is and why she wants to do it, and it almost, because I know we've been covering the Dominion War and we're all big fans of DS9, and it almost casts a bit of shade on that in saying, look, but that's not what it's about. We're not here to fight wars. We're here to explore.
We're not. But that's where DS9 is unique, because it put them in a situation where they were in a war.
And this is something which, like, I like the reminder here that what point of in time we're at. We're just after Next Generation. We've had the Dominion War. Like, it's when she starts listing the enemies they faced, it sort of reminded me of... it's not often it's a go-to reference for me, but Insurrection, where Picard talks about like the enemies that they've lost, and that's him and Troy are talking about why they're welcoming in such a generally early on in their progress, civilization, generation. And it felt like that. It felt like, of course, that Starfleet's going to have some scars from all the wars it's faced recently, and it's trying to be Starfleet again. And I thought it was a really nice moment to take. Yeah, again, it just sets us in the time.
And it sort of gives us that Mariner's a bit like what she is, because she has her own form of PTSD. She's traumatized. She's opening up that she's actually traumatized by what's happened to her in the wars and losing friends, and she doesn't feel like she deserves to be a lieutenant. She thinks them people were better who died while they were ensigns, so why should she be more than an ensign?
Can I just really address one of the comments we've just had in the chat? It's like, what are these people talking about? Hello, I'm Nothing 07. No one knows. No one ever knows what they're talking about. It's a mystery to us, quite frankly. Sorry,
it's a mystery. I could have played a song if you told me you have to come out with that.
No, we get taken down by like the copyright people.
So Elliot mentioned it a little bit earlier on, Freeman's trick that she uses, and it's Billups as the bounty hunter and everything. That is very nicely constructed.
It's brilliant how she does, because it's literally, if you notice, Billups actually, she's done this before they even arrive at the planet. Because when they first come in orbit and they're told that they've got to go back to the moon and there'll be a shuttle in 3 hours, they're not allowed to beam down.
Yeah.
There's another shuttle that comes in, and it's Phillips.
Yeah, you see his face on it as well.
But they're letting straight through.
Because isn't there like 2 or 3 beats where you see that the guy, he's always one step ahead of them.
Yeah.
And man, I went to the mirror after watching this. I was looking for the word sucker written on my forehead because they got me good. I was almost writing on myself in Sharpie because, they tricked me so well.
She did. She played it brilliantly.
Yeah,
I was
really good.
That's definitely the guy from the ship. There is no doubt in my mind.
But she's planned this before they even got there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the bit
and she's been really clever. But what's really clever is she's not told a chief of security, so a chief of security is still acting like normal.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And the reveal's really good and everything, and it shows Freeman's competence, which we've not always seen in the earlier seasons.
Yeah,
but it's nice to see that.
I think we've also seen that when push comes to shove, she actually is quite competent.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's nice to see that without there being any edge to it or any ambiguity or even Mariner brushing back against it. It's just, she's done something really good.
Yeah, I know what's going to happen, and this is how we're going to get around it. She knows already.
That's one of the reasons why I think Jim's suggestion would be so satisfying, because it would show that they've worked together, and because they've worked together, they've both done better than they would have done previously. They've grown and they've learned about working together. Even the captains learned that you have to work together with someone.
But that's what I like about James's idea.
Yeah,
when he says Mariners off, because it sort of shows that Captain Freeman's probably had this in the plan.
I think it would be she's doing it on the orders of Freeman.
Yeah,
it'd be wonderful.
And then, obviously, the final revelation is Nick Lucano, which...
you've actually missed the revelation, because we have the puppet from the Carbonite Maneuver. And obviously, when Freeman starts going, it's a puppet. Where, as an audience, we're all there going, yeah, we know it's a puppet. We've seen the Carbonite Maneuver. We know it's a puppet. And she starts shaking in it, and it isn't. It's just an alien on a chair.
And man, the cartoon, the animation, I know the animation's always great, but it dead on. Like it was so kind of good to the original.
I don't know if you noticed, we should have also known this wasn't a puppet, because it walks in while they're stuck outside arguing with the doorman.
You see.
Yeah, but it could have been more sophisticated.
He's the one who walks in, and he goes special offer for whatever species he said he was.
That all that means is that Ron Howard was standing on the shoulders of Clint Howard, and that's how they made there was just the two of them that time, which would have been so sad. I would love it if they had that as a reveal. One jumps off the other, and it's both of them. It's a green version of young Ron Howard.
I just thought that was a clever way of playing it, because when she starts saying it's a puppet, as an audience, we're all with her as well. Yes, it's a puppet. We know we have seen this, and then it's not.
I enjoy his indignation. Like, how dare you call me a puppet? And just because you called me a puppet, I'm now going to do this.
I would have loved it if they got Clint Howard in to voice him. And by the way, I said Ron Howard earlier in the episode. It was Clint Howard, of course.
It is Clint Howard. So, I think we've talked about Lucano. I'm interested to see what they do with him next week. I would love it if Tom Paris also appears in the episode somehow.
Well, interesting, because, last time we talked about the first duty, because we've made reference to it a few times when we've done the caretaker for Voyager, and when we did Lower Decks, the TNG episode, we've made reference to it. We've always said, has Lucano had a name change, maybe? And that's why we got Tom Paris. Is that sort of like the in-universe thing, why he's the same person? But now you have to go, no, he isn't. It's now established that it is two different people.
Yeah.
So we have now two identical people from Earth now are in canon. So are they long lost twins?
Yeah, I think Admiral Paris had a little bit of fun with Miss Locarno at some point. That's all.
That would make sense.
You've got to look at that, because now that you've made Locarno and Tom Paris, because there has been fan speculation for a long time that Locarno, after he'd been kicked out of Starfleet, changed his name and all that, not to bring disgrace on his family or whatever, and became Tom Paris. And that's been fan fiction for a long time.
Yeah.
But that can no longer be, because now we have two identical people in the same universe.
Yeah, I mean, that was very much like, look, don't get me wrong, I've done it over the years. That's kind of fans breaking their back to justify something like that. But that's always good fun. But I would love.
Now you have the other side that you have them. So are they twins?
No, unfortunately, I believe the guy who played Admiral Paris is dead, unfortunately, because he also played Future Boy in the Mo something or other. He was in an episode of Quantum Leap, basically, where he was a guy who tried to make Quantum Leap technology, basically. He was also on a TV show. Anyway, that's another story. But I would have loved it if, even if they just had a cartoon of him, you don't hear the voice, but you get Tom Paris in the episode. He goes up like, Dad, doesn't he look a bit like me? But like just him doing one of these, and like, you just have someone voicing over him go, like that would be perfect.
Well, you never know. We'll find out next week. But
that's what I want to see, right? Because Jesus, don't we love it when they get people from different crews? That's why the last series of Picard was kind of satisfying for kind of seeing people, even the other series, because you had like 7 of 9, you had new crew, you had Picard. It was nice to mash up. Like, imagine if this episode you had 7 of 9, you had Tom Riker, you had Locarno, and Beverly Crusher. Tom Paris.
Tom Paris and Locarno and Tom Riker, I'll be happy. If you get Beverly Crusher and 7 of 9 as well, that'll be like the cherry on top of the icing.
Well, if we're bringing in all the duplicates, it's time to bring back Thomas Boimler, isn't it?
But if we do get Beverly Crusher, I just hope at the very end of it, the last scene, we have her giving Boimler his tap dance lesson, because that's all he's saying on the planet. I hope we meet Beverly Crusher and I get me tap dance and it's tap dance.
That I love. And also, Jim, you just slipped something in there. You just put it in smooth as ice. The idea of seeing William Boimler, and it's like, oh man, come on, like. I mean, it would make perfect sense as well, because it's all the outcasts from Starfleet. Section 31 is going to be all over being behind that.
Yeah, if we're doing duplicates.
Like, to be fair, I had mentioned Section 31 could be behind all this.
You have.
Man, it's all coming together.
My theory is still up there.
So
all I'm saying is, writers of Lower Decks, if you're not doing that, you better do better than we've suggested, because we've just come up with the most kick-ass finale.
Do we think it'll end next week? Or do we think they'll do like previously and it'll carry over into season 5, the first 5-10 minutes?
I think they're going
to wrap it up.
I think they're going to wrap the story up. They might do one of those things whereby they wrap up the story and then at the end there's a sting and tell, which leads to the plot of the next one.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to wrap up this individual story.
Yeah, I feel like if they were going to do it as a cliffhanger, they have, but I feel like if they were going to do it as a cliffhanger, it'd have just been one episode at the end of the season. I feel like if they're doing a 2-parter, we're going to get a wrap up, but you never know.
No.
So the first duty then. So yeah, I mean, this is what really jumped out at me at this one is that this was Wesley's second guest appearance in season 5. He wouldn't appear in season 6 at all, and then he would come back for properly as Wesley for one episode. Yeah, and he also has a little cameo in Parallels. But if the writing for Wesley had been as good as this, maybe Will Wheaton would have wanted to stay as a regular, but he often got the short end of the stick with Wesley's storylines, I feel, whereas I feel this is good.
I thought this was... I don't know. I mean, I like the idea of it, but I thought it just read like a 45-minute PSA. It was just, I don't know. It just, I feel like they didn't serve it enough, because the thing is, we from very early doors knew what happened. We knew that they had performed illegally. There was obviously, they were obviously guilty. They did nothing to eke out the mystery. Like, we knew what was happening, and just took so long to land them actually.
Yeah.
Him actually coming around. It was just so long of him like going, oh, shouldn't I? Oh, I feel really guilty. Picard. Oh, you think I should do it too? Oh, shouldn't I though still? Oh, I did it.
Yeah, I thought it worked though. I mean, that there is nothing incorrect about your description of it. It's like for me, it landed.
Even very early on, Picard knows that it's bullshit, because he starts asking the gardener. As soon as Boothby's involved, that he's gone for serious advice, because he knows it's bullshit.
Yeah,
they work it out pretty quickly.
It's very drawn out to work out that they've done something wrong, and it's like, why have they saved the smoking gun evidence right till the very last reveal at the trial?
They do. They're like, oh, we found this alternate view, and look, the ships are not in the right formation. Whoa.
Can you explain it?
Yeah, and we don't even ever see the incident. Like, that would have been really cool if they'd shown.
Now,
I know why we didn't see the incident. And I know exactly why we didn't see the incident. Because this was made in 1993, and to do that effect would have cost stupid amounts of money.
That's true.
That's why we keep getting what were quite good computer effects for 1993 on the screen of little triangles.
You're right.
Yeah.
But now, like in modern storytelling, if they've been like, in modern he tells the truth, and then Locarno's still denying it, and he goes, "Haha, smoking gun. Here's the proof." That would have been a nice reveal at the end. Nice shot at the end.
Now, my fundamental problem with this episode that I've always had is that the central conceit doesn't make any sense, because Nick Locarno's plan is, I want to go out in a blaze of glory, and I'm going to get them to do this maneuver that's been banned because somebody died
last time,
and everyone's going to go, yay, he pulled it off, what a difficult maneuver, I'm going to graduate with honor. No, you'd be expelled because it's banned.
For doing the banned maneuver.
It doesn't matter that the reason it was banned is because it's killed. So they're not saying it's banned unless you can guarantee people will live. It's the fact that it's banned.
It's banned.
Well, it wouldn't be banned if they could guarantee people will live. They just got lucky if they got through.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. So it doesn't. That isn't the way it works. It's not like, if you drive 200 miles an hour down a motorway but don't hit anyone, the police don't go, oh, that's all right then.
That's all right. They get off, well done.
That's not how the law works. So for me, the basic concept of the dilemma is fundamentally flawed, because it wouldn't have worked out okay even if they had have done it. They'd have just all got expelled.
Like, if they said that,
that'd have been it.
If it had been a maneuver that hadn't been performed for 100 years because someone died last time, it was done, and you left it at that, and you didn't say it is banned because of
you're right. If they'd have just done it, and they just didn't want to admit they'd killed someone because it was negligent.
All you have to say is that no one has performed this maneuver because it's judged too dangerous for 100 years.
Yeah.
Because last time it was done at the academy, someone died. Great. And you don't say it's banned or anything, you just say it's not being performed because it's too dangerous.
Yep.
And they would have still lied about it because they knew it was a dangerous thing to do.
And they've got someone.
Yeah, you're right. That's just a tiny little change, and it would have made the logic of the episode work.
And the truth they wrapped their lie in was the fact that the guy was nervous about flying, so it was kind of like they've given away something which kind of bites them in the ass later. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it would have been great. Because they would still got in shit for forcing someone to. Yeah. I felt the same.
I must admit, I felt the same. It doesn't make
It doesn't.
Leaving that one line in that, in fact, then one couple of words, it's banned.
It's an illegal maneuver.
It's an illegal maneuver. Then you're going to get screwed if you do it, if you complete it or not, because it's an illegal maneuver. It doesn't matter if it looks spectacular. It's illegal, and you're breaking the rules. And
if we're seeing as we're obviously going to jump into this episode, like the fact that when and I won't pretend this is my original observation. On another podcast, they did raise the good point that when Picard's there going, it's like your first duty is to the truth. It's like, no, it's not. Like, first duty is to space exploration, to the Prime Directive, for instance. It's called the Prime Directive. Your first duty is to Starfleet. The truth's never been the first duty of any Starfleet officer. It's never been mentioned as that.
Well, he does try and judge as he goes, whether it's historical truth or personal truth or truth.
It just seems a bit,
yeah. It's a very Picard sort of line. That's
is, and Locarno does clone.
I think that may be Emma because it's Facebook user.
Yeah, I'm just not sure where clones comes into that.
Tom Paris, maybe. Tom Paris.
Oh, right. You might be a bit behind on us.
Yeah, maybe it is. Well, again, we're going to find out next week. Hopefully. So, yeah, a couple of other things with this episode then. I do like the bit where Picard keeps getting, knocked back. He goes... He says, well, the Enterprise is on hand to help you should you need it. And she goes, no, it's all right. And then Picard goes to talk to Wesley, Wesley, if you ever need to talk to me, no, you're fine. And I was just like, oh, poor Picard. He keeps getting knocked back. He's trying to help everybody, but they're not up for it.
I'm not being funny, but you've got the flagship of the Federation there offering its assistance in the inquiry. Why wouldn't you take it?
Well, I presume the idea is that planet-based, they're quite capable of doing their own thing, but I mean, they do ultimately, don't they? Because he's like, well, we've been given access to all the things. And then while Picard's talking to Boothby, Boothby mentions something about his hair, which confirms that Picard had hair at the Academy, despite what the writers of Nemesis think.
Yeah. Well, we did see that
in Tapestry,
Tapestry he had hair.
Oh, to me, though, I mean, if we're going to go on to prosthetics, makeup, wigs...
Yeah, it.
First of all, you got the... let's just do it, because, Sato was kind of subtly weird, but it was the bushiest eyebrows I've ever seen. And I'm not shaming women for having bushy eyebrows, but it seems like that was part of the prosthetic, not face.
Yeah, it looked like it was coming out of the wedge.
But I kind of assumed it was only because if you've seen the Vulcan in this episode, man, it's like they got a Beatles wig that would have been left over from something else. They got curly eyebrows, which look like, okay, this is the most obscure reference I'm ever going to make, but which looked like they were the drawing from the front cover of the Bogwhoppet book, which if anyone's ever read it, if you haven't, Google it right now. The Bogwhoppet had these huge curly eyebrows. It was ridiculous. His hair, I didn't know where his eyebrows ended and his hairline began. It was the most weird looking Vulcan. It really felt like it's like, oh, we've run out of budget. Well, who have you got left to do? Well, just the Vulcan, but your Beatles wig, these curly eyebrows we got left over from another monster. Yeah, that'll do. It looks Vulcan. Have we got the pointy ears? Yeah, we got the pointy ears. I don't give a crap about the rest then.
In Sito's defense, TNG Bajorans did have a little bit of ridges, and then they decided to drop it by the time they got to DS9. Probably because they were like, you know what, a nose is easier than doing...
Oh, yeah, I know it's the ridges. That's fine. Maybe some people from Bajor have that. That's it could be a feature some people have, some people don't. I'm sure there's an example in human features I'm not thinking of, but sometimes people have different faces and different features and stuff. I can buy that. It's a genetic thing. They've now established in law that Romulans from one side of the planet or another look different, and that justifies why we've had different Romulans over the years in Picard. That's fine, but it's it's just a weird stylistic choice. We could say that all Bajorans of this era or some Bajorans have really ridiculously bushy eyebrows. It's just weird. It's like...
No, it is.
Yeah, it's like when they did these skirts on men at the beginning of Next Generation. Great idea if they kept it up, but they did it in one episode to basically justify putting women in very short skirts. It just looks weird. It's only in one episode.
And something else, just in terms of the timing of the episode, like right at the end, it gets to this inquiry is now closed, and then Wesley goes, "Oh, excuse me, if I were Nick Lucano, I'd be like, it said closed, no, this is inadmissible."
Yeah. I mean, certainly in our modern kind of parlance, if it was closed, then that would be a precedent. And like, even if the second that they go not guilty, if OJ had jumped up at that moment and gone, "Yeah, I did it," really, they cannot prosecute him. That's legal. Like, so if we're saying that the Starfleet is built on modern legal precedents, you've been fine saying that, and they would have walked away from that fine.
Yeah, I mean, they'd have probably had a mistrial or something. But anyway, I just found it, obviously, it works
you could
dramatically.
Have a
it works dramatically, but it's just one of them weird ones.
Before the end of the trial, Picard has worked out what they were doing. They've got the screenshot from the weather satellite at Saturn, or the monitoring satellite, that shows them in the starburst formation. And why doesn't that get put as evidence?
Because for Picard, it's about seeing whether Wesley will come forward or not, isn't it? I think Picard's got faith that Wesley will do the right thing, so he doesn't want to force it.
Right. And in the in-episode logic, after the fact, he could reopen the trial. But I mean, to be honest with you, just the second, like after we moved on, I was thinking it's like, actually, you couldn't do a mistrial because the trial's over. Retrial would have to prove further evidence other than a confession after the trial's finished, I believe. So I think actually, that in modern parlance, that would get away with it. But if you just say in Next Generation times,
I think if you confess, that would reopen the trial.
No, I mean they've shown in. This has been brought up in loads of court case shows which they've had on TV. They've said if someone confesses after they've been proven innocent, it's the double jeopardy rule that they've got in America, certainly. Yeah. I don't know how it works in UK trials, but in American trials,
America has it stupid. You can't try someone for the same thing twice.
Exactly. So a retrial, I don't think you could use that because of the double jeopardy rule. I think that somehow applies to that.
That was the whole concept of that Ashley Judd film, wasn't it? Double jeopardy. It's like, she gets put away for killing her husband, but then it turns out he's actually alive. So now she could actually kill him. And spoilers for that film, she does. So it's like, right, well, I knew that whole film from the trailer. Like, I literally did not need to see that film. Thank you very much.
I mean, OJ released a book saying, if I had done it, this was what I would have done. Which basically
if I did it, and the if was like practically crossed out. Yeah.
So I think if you were able to do that, that book alone would be evident, like damning, very suggestive evidence, at least, especially seeing the facts tie up with everything in the case.
Yeah, there was a wrestler, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, who was accused of killing his wife, but he had an alibi. And it was a very tenuous alibi, but everyone went with it. And then he wrote an autobiography many years later where he outright contradicted his alibi for where he was at the time of the murder. So that's an interesting. He was removed from the Wrestling Hall of Fame. Anywho, so, I mean, I think this is one of them ones where it's such a well-known episode that we don't need to go through it in depth. We've kind of covered the main points, but what else have we got?
There was an early doors one, which I did want to mention. When he's doing his physio in the room, like he's got like this strap attached to his arm. I don't know where he's meant to have injured his arm, but it's like he's doing this pull thing from his strap on his arm, which is basically just a physio band, which I'm using for my broken, like this is my broken arm at the moment. I literally did a physio band on it, not an hour before I watched the episode. I'm going, that's the best they've come up with. And they've attached it to the arm, which they're working on, which would surely put extra pressure on it. Like that device makes no sense whatsoever. I can't imagine an injury that's if the injury's on that part of the arm, if there's injuries on that part of the arm, you're aggravating more. If it's on that part of the arm, it's doing fuck all to it. What's it doing?
I don't know. Something very clever and futuristic.
Yeah, I was going to say it's bullshit. I'm sorry. I mean, again, I would not have questioned it once if I hadn't literally just broken my arm like 3 months ago, and I'm still doing physio for it. So I was like, how the fuck would that work?
Well, same way that the thing that repairs your broken arms works.
Shut up. That's logic, whore. That makes perfect sense.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize profusely.
You might get some of them for Christmas. And it was some of them in your life.
And so, just because one of my favorite facts is the fact that the original medical scanner was meant to be salt and pepper things, which they go, no, they look too futuristic to be salt and pepper.
I'll be back in 30 seconds.
I wonder what he's going to come back with. But yeah, it was like, I couldn't believe they were going, it's like, oh, look, I could see that being a medical scanner about that big, but it's dispensing salt and pepper. Ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's one of them where a lot of shows like future stuff, they over design everything. Oh,
I love. Oh, you didn't even grind it. That's automatic.
And lights up.
No, I've seen them light up. I've seen them say press one button and it all,
No, I don't even have to press anything.
Oh, no, the hands-free is the bit which is impressive. The light up technology we've seen before, but man, where'd you get that from?
Peak salt sellers.
Okay, I want an Amazon link in my inbox by the end of this episode.
Absolutely. So, has anyone got anything else on this episode then before we wrap up?
I'm surprised at Data in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because Data's got like an encyclopedic knowledge of everything that's happened. And he's run through 55 different maneuvers, hasn't come up with that they could be doing the Cobalt Starburst.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I've also got one. I think Beverly Crusher got stoned just before she found the news, because in every other episode, you always see her getting really emotional when it's anything to do with the son, as she would do. She's always like, oh my God, is Wesley okay? Is he all right? Like, what's happened? Oh, I'm so worried because he's away from the ship and I'm here and I'm his mum, you know. She's always showing so much concern. This time it's like, oh yeah, I hope they take into account that he's allergic to this. Oh yeah, I hope she's like, it's so weirdly underplayed. I think that has to be in the direction because it's not.
It's almost like she's been directed to be numbed by the news that nearly
maybe, yeah.
I get, but why wouldn't she be that in other situations which are of a part, which we see in several other episodes?
Because maybe she was directed better in other episodes.
That's what I mean. Yeah. It's like your thing is the best explanation we've got, but it doesn't make any sense to.
It doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't for the character what we've seen previously and in the future.
Because some people can act numb, and that would be a fine character choice if you're doing it every time.
Yeah.
But it just looked weirdly stoned in this episode.
Yeah.
Not that I know what that looks like.
Of course not. Yeah, so I mean, I do think this is a good episode. I think it's one of the best Wesley-centric episodes, and I think it's a shame Wesley didn't get better writing when he was a regular on the show.
This is a much better... sort of like cameo appearance than his earlier episodes in season 5.
Oh, the game,
yeah. The game.
Which features Ashley Judd from Double Jeopardy. So there you go. It all ties together.
Yeah.
I love the fact that we've got these all just say Facebook users. So it's like, that's not me this time. Double Jeopardy was a waste of time.
That's Jodie.
That's Jodie, not Emma. No, I love the fact that it's like it doesn't say who it is, but they're arguing over. That's not me. This is me. It's me. It's like like until Jodie says Jodie.
We've said all you have to do is click the thing, and we will see your names, and we won't have these fun debates. But
and some of you have done that in the past, and it works.
I know,
it's like magic.
I'm just space magic. Just a quick link, just put a button on it. Yeah. For me, yeah, I think this is one of the. It's a really good idea that's very poorly realized for me. Like, I honestly, I was really looking forward to seeing this episode, and I still love what it does for Wesley's story, and well, which again isn't really explored later. But anyway, I like the ideas it sets up, which could have been made so much hay of in Voyager and in future Wesley, but they sort of don't really do anything with it, and they sort of it's slow paced here. It's a great idea.
What thing? The thing that you click on. We'll do a little instructional video on how to do it at some point.
That's forever. We know Georgia knows how to do it because she's done it in the past.
If someone can just CGI out my arm, that's the thing.
So anyway, we'll wrap up there then. We'll be back next week
with that joke.
to talk about the finale of Lower Decks, see what Nick Lucano gets up to.
And let's hope it's Section 31 and the whale probe involved so I can claim I got it.
And if not, then the Iconians.
Yeah, always Iconians.
In the meantime, you can get in touch with us. We're at RetrekPod. We're retrekpod@gmail.com. You can find us on all the socials. Elliot has got Retrek Model Studios on YouTube.
I have a video coming out later tonight because it's the 1st of November, so it's the brand new year for Halloween.
There we go. And
you should be excited to see that.
Oh, I know what that's about then. And I've got Kingy's Toy Box on YouTube, and we have just uploaded the latest video with the new issues of D&D Adventurer. Dr. Squee, what is going on with the Dr. Squee show?
Well, this week we had our Halloween Spooktacular while we were talking to the writer director, which you can find on YouTube now, behind Do Not Disturb. And we're kind of continuing the horror theme the next week. We've got the writer director of Killer Pig or Pig Killer, which is based on a true story, and it stars Jake Busey, Gary Busey's son, a fantastic actor in his own right. It just sounds like just the most wonderful. I kind of try and wait until shortly before the interview to watch it, not to keep it fresh in my head, but so the surprises of it are fresh in my head.
Yeah,
and it just sounds like the most amazing bonkers film. And we've also got in a double bill this week, an interview in that same episode with I'm going to forget the lady's name, but it's a doctor talking about gut health and fighting the winter blues. So it gives loads of tips on how to keep yourself sane during the winter and kind of how to physically keep yourself well whilst tackling the winter blues.
Going right back to the start of the episode, you've got 800 episodes of Doctor Who to keep you happy through the winter period on iPlayer.
And Dr. Squee Show Tuesday 7 till 8, sw20radio.co.uk or drsquee.com for the video episodes.
Brilliant. And thanks for trekking with us this time. We will see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you. Goodbye.
LLAP and drag off Lacano!
Fascinating.
So which is worse, iPlayer for not having an unearthly child or Paramount Plus?
Or is Paramount Plus?
I think that's fair.
And that was your book.